May I have your attention, please? Good evening, everyone. I'm Jan Vilcek, Chairman and CEO of the Vilcek Foundation. Thank you. Let me extend a warm welcome to you all. Also on behalf of my wife, Marica Vilcek, who is the co-founder of the foundation, and the foundation president, Rick Kinsel, and all members of the foundation's board of trustees. I would want to warmly welcome all prize winners from earlier years who are here tonight. We have, I think, close to a dozen of them here. And I cannot mention all of their names, but let me tell you how delighted I am that you came here this year again. And let me mention at least one former prize winner, Varin Keokitwon, who won the Creative Promise Prize in Culinary Arts 8 years ago, and who has come all the way from Seattle. So thank you, Varin, and thank you all of the other prize winners. My special thanks go to the jurors who helped to select our prize winners. We could not do it without you, and we appreciate it very much. And let me express my thanks to our wonderful staff, without whom there would be no celebration tonight. And of course, let me thank all of you who came here tonight to celebrate our prize winners and their stellar achievements. In December of this year, the Vilcek Foundation will officially celebrate its 20th birthday. We have reached adulthood. A few years after establishing our foundation, we adopted our main mission, which is to celebrate and honor outstanding foreign-born scientists and artists. And the goal was to raise public awareness of the contribution of immigrants to this country. When we selected our mission, we did not have a political goal in mind. At the time, we could not have anticipated how timely and politically relevant our work would become. When Marica and I came to this country as penniless refugees more than half a century ago, we were greeted with open arms. We shall forever remain grateful for the opportunities awarded to us in this country. The current administration's unfortunate efforts to make it ever harder for deserving refugees and immigrants to come to the United States runs contrary to the long-established tenet that America is a land of immigrants. And this policy is inimical to the overwhelming evidence that immigrants are an asset for this country. Until recently, the benefits immigrants bring to America were acknowledged as a sensible truth by leaders of both major parties. Last month, at the naturalization ceremony, former President George W. Bush stated, quote, "Amid all the complications of policy, may we never forget that immigration is a blessing and a strength," unquote. In another speech given last year, George W. Bush noted that immigrants take on America's toughest jobs, adding, quote, "We ought to say thanks and welcome to them," and end of quote. Unfortunately, we don't hear words like that from our country's current president, who has turned immigration into a polarizing force used by him to stoke fear, hatred, and misunderstanding. Curiously, the current president neglects the fact that he too comes from a family of immigrants, including his paternal grandparents, his mother, and two of his three wives. Our celebration tonight, in no uncertain terms, rejects the current administration's narrative of hostility and xenophobia. There is no better proof of the enormous benefits America gains from immigrants than the tremendous accomplishments of the prize winners we are honoring tonight. The winners of our prizes this year hail from 4 continents and 8 countries. What they share is the exceptional achievements in this country for which they are selected to receive the 2019 Vilcek Foundation Prizes. I congratulate them all on their achievements and their well-deserved prizes. Thank you all and enjoy the evening.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And let's start the program. It's time to bestow the 2019 Vilcek Foundation Prizes. We are here tonight to celebrate our prize winners' extraordinary contributions to biomedical science, the culinary arts, and to art history. Since 2006, we have awarded over $4.5 million in prizes to immigrants from 53 countries. These prize winners represent a broad range of singular accomplishments, and to honor that, our award objects are customized for each individual. The trophies for the Vilcek Prizes were created by celebrated graphic designer Stefan Sagmeister, himself an immigrant from Austria. Stefan helped us to translate the mission of the Vilcek Prizes into a physical form with the design of our first trophies 13 years ago. The trophies are meant to embody the personal journey each prize winner has made as an immigrant and represent the pinnacle of achievement they have reached in their professional careers. Each trophy is completely unique. They are built around the typographic contours of each person's name, out of steel and thermoplastic, using the latest 3D printing technology. We let a similar concept guide the design of our Creative Promise Prizes. These prizes were created by Abbott Miller at Pentagram, who is in the room somewhere. These prizes recognize immigrant artists and scientists who have established a signature voice and a significant body of work early in their careers. Here, too, each award is shaped around the winner's name. These freestanding plaques are made of laser-cut steel, and this dynamic graphic pattern and color changes every year to keep it fresh and interesting. And finally, I am pleased to unveil for the first time here tonight a new design. This is the Vilcek Prize for Excellence Diploma. I'm glad you like it. It was designed by Stefan Sagmeister and Jessica Walsh, and this diploma is awarded to individuals who have profoundly impacted American society and world culture. It's a bold twist on the conventional diploma. It's a design that honors the forward-looking tendencies that are characteristic of our prize winners and of immigrants in general. Now, we turn the stage over to the prize winners themselves. I am pleased to introduce Dr. Titia de Lange, the Leon Hess Professor of Cell Biology and Genetics at the Rockefeller University. Originally from the Netherlands, Titia has devoted her career to the study of telomeres, the stretches of DNA at the end of our chromosomes that help to maintain genetic accuracy. Titia was among the first to isolate the telomeres of the human chromosome. Since then, she has greatly expanded our understanding of how telomeres work and how corrupted telomeres can cause genetic changes that lead to cancer. Titia is a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the National Academy of Medicine, and the European Molecular Biology Organization. She has received the Breakthrough Prize, the Gertner Prize, and many other honors, including our own Vilcek Prize in Biomedical Science. Here to introduce the winners in Biomedical Science, please welcome Titia de Lange.
Good evening. It's such a privilege to join my dear friends Jeanne and Marica Vilcek in celebrating tonight, celebration of foreign-born icons in the culinary arts and the biomedical sciences. Of course, these two subjects have a lot more in common than just this splendid gala, because cooking is a key aspect of experimental biology. When we set up new experiments, biologists use recipes, protocols we call them, which we find in our old notebooks or increasingly, like you, by Googling. And like what you do at home, we test these recipes and then we start changing them bit by bit, literally adding more salt or less, cooking longer or less, marinating differently. And every successful scientist has a deep love for this process and develops an enormous respect for those recipes, those protocols that work best, publishing our new recipes for all to try and perfect further. Tonight, the Vilcek Prize of Promise will honor a trio of young cooks with exemplary promise at an early stage of their career: Amit Choudhary, Jeanne, and Mikhail Shapiro. Although Amit Choudhary grew up in a low-income, low-caste environment in one of the poorest areas of India, he's now on the faculty of both Harvard and MIT, where he uses, amongst other things, as you will see, binge-eating snakes to understand diabetes. And he's working to improve CRISPR gene editing technology. Jean-Pas's family escaped from an impoverished Soviet-era neighborhood in Georgia to go to Israel, unfortunately arriving there just before the Gulf War broke out. After studying in Lyon and in Paris in France, she eventually joined the faculty of Stanford, where she studies epilepsy using advanced technology. And Mikhail Shapiro, originally from a small town near Moscow, is a technology innovator who uses gas-filled proteins that he borrowed from bacteria to develop new types of MRI imaging. These three stars exemplify what Jan Vilcek was referring to when he said, and I quote, Immigrant scientists are behind some of the most transformative discoveries made on American soil. And no one exemplifies this principle better than my friend Angelika, Amon, this year's recipient of the Vilcek Prize in Biomedical Sciences. Angelika grew up in Vienna, where she trained with a great geneticist who introduced her to her favorite experimental organism, the lowly budding yeast. She came to the US in 1993 to continue her training with Ruth Lehman, who's here, then at MIT at Cambridge. And Ruth, the second great geneticist to train Angelika, also showed her that female scientists can achieve great success at US institutions. So upon joining the faculty of MIT, Angelika used her beloved lowly budding yeast to crack open a long-standing problem in cancer biology. And I will refer to this as the 23andMe problem. As you know, each one of our cells has exactly the same genetic information residing on 23 chromosomes. Well, actually, it's not 23, it's 46, 23 from mom, 23 from dad. But perhaps the advisors of 23andMe thought 46andMe doesn't sound like a good company name. In any case, when 23andMe analyzes the DNA in your saliva, their findings don't just pertain to the cells in your cheeks. The results tell you about every cell in your body. And this is so because our cells are fanatically precise at dividing their duplicated chromosomes. So each of the billions of cells in our body contain precisely the same 46 chromosomes. But in cancer, this 23andMe rule breaks down, with some cancers having an extra chromosome 1 or an extra chromosome 2 or 3 or 4 and so on, and some cancers even having whole sets of extra chromosomes. And Angelika has studied why cancer cells become so sloppy with their chromosomes, but also wanted to know what happens when the cells eventually contain the wrong number of chromosomes. And most scientists thought this was an insoluble problem. You couldn't study it because every cancer has a different set of extra chromosomes. So you would have to study, on the one hand, what happens when chromosome 1 is added, on the other hand, what happens when chromosome 2 is added, and so on. Angelika proved this view wrong. First, using budding yeast and then mammalian cells, she showed that independent of which chromosome is added, abnormal chromosome numbers always have a general effect, stressing multiple cellular systems, leading to higher mutation rates, greater sensitivity to immune surveillance, and other vulnerabilities that now can be explored in the cancer clinic. Angelika is not only a deep thinker and a superb experimentalist, that is, a great chef in her lab's kitchen. She has also taught the art of science cooking to her trainees, resulting in a highly successful set of independent young cooks, many of whom are here at leading institutions. And like Ruth Lehman, Angelika serves as an inspiring role model for young women at MIT and elsewhere. And in fact, not just for young women. She inspires me. So please join me and congratulate all winners of tonight.
My scientific ambition is to propel the development of therapeutics for diseases of poverty, including diabetes and malaria. We are developing methods that will allow us to efficiently vaccinate mosquitoes so that they will no longer be able to carry deadly disease organisms. The best part of all of this is that we are just scratching the surface of possibilities.
Thanks. So I wish to start by thanking Marica and Jeanne Vilcek. I can't really see in all the lights, but I really want to thank them. And both of you continue to lead such an extraordinary and inspirational life. So thank you for that. my mentors, Bridget and Bobby, and my graduate advisor here. And so if you look at my scientific training, I dabbled a lot between quantum mechanics and now binge-eating snakes and beta cell biology, and that would not have happened without their mentorship, so I'm truly thankful to them. I have also a lot of other people to thank, my teachers and trainees and collaborators and colleagues, and of course the jury members. I'm not just an immigrant to the United States, and my training is in chemistry and physics, so I'm an immigrant to the field of biological sciences. And so, thank you again for recognizing our contribution. And finally, I would like to really thank my brothers and parents. So I grew up in a caste-ridden community where most people, can't read, and my parents took a huge risk in investing all they had in my education, particularly so because I was a terrible, terrible student and a very mischievous child. And so, they had a very simple rationale. They used to tell that, money is something that people can take away from you, but the wisdom you get from a good education, nobody can take that from you. And so here I stand, benefiting from, reaping benefits from, their vision, and just I stand here also benefiting from the hard work and the vision of the Vilceks. So thank you, Mom and Dad, and thank you, Marica and Jeanne.
Optogenetics is a tool used to turn certain cells in the brain on or off with light, which my lab uses to study epilepsy. I designed and developed an approach which enabled me to block seizures without affecting normal brain activities between seizures. As an interculturalist, I enjoy the diversity of learning styles and the unique perspectives. We all have something to learn from each other, and the world is so big.
Thank you so much. This is an amazing opportunity to be here and to meet all of you. Thank you, Jeanne and Marica, for this, for offering me the opportunity to come here today. So I also grew up in a very poor neighborhood where we did not have phones. And you would go to your neighbor to borrow some shoes for an important event to go to the city. And coming here means a lot to me. This is, for me, about survival. I've been through 2 wars as a child. And as it was mentioned today, I work, my lab works on epilepsy, and we're trying to predict seizures before they start and to change the future by aborting them. And we're hoping that our approaches will be saving lives in the future. And I would like to thank my parents, especially my mom, who raised me as a single mom. And she and my grandmother always told me that nothing was more important than education. And I also would like to thank my mentors, especially Leonard Muki, who hired me and trusted me to start my own lab at the Gladstone Institute and UCSF. And thank you all so much again. This means the world to me. Thank you.
My lab discovered the first acoustic proteins and developed several other biomolecules which allow cells expressing these molecules to be visualized and controlled using ultrasound and magnetic fields. I love the idea that we can engineer cells to roam through our bodies, looking for disease and then fixing it.
Thank you so much. I am, first of all, deeply grateful to Jeanne and Marica and Vilcek and to the Vilcek Foundation and the jurors for giving me this incredible honor. It's amazing to share this prize with all of the ridiculously accomplished prize winners, both from this year and from previous years, and to be in this room full of luminaries of art and science. Really just amazing. I'm particularly honored to receive this prize as an immigrant to America. I've actually been very fortunate to receive support throughout my academic training from other foundations that support immigrants' role in American research, the Paul and Daisy Soros Fellowship and the Hertz Foundation, and without whom I wouldn't be here. And it's really a huge delight and honor for me now to also become part of the Vilcek family. And I have a lot of people to thank, but I'm going to just single out one group, and that's my students. They're the ones that actually do all the work for which I get credit. And thank you, yeah. And many of them are themselves immigrants or children of immigrants. And I hope that some of the recognition that I'm getting is going to inspire them to do great things as well. Thank you very much.
In my lab, we study aneuploidy. This is medically really important because aneuploidy is a hallmark of cancer and causes birth defects. The idea that there are processes and mechanisms that are constantly happening in living organisms is beyond fascinating to me.
My voice sounds awful. I think I have this like perfect American accent, and then I listen to myself. And I, after all these years, still sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like a disaster. Every time I hear myself. Thank you all. This is a very special and very moving experience. I was, and I continue to be so privileged to have worked with many, many extremely talented young scientists, some of whom are here in the audience. Guys, please stand up. Where are you? Okay, there we are. And I want to emphasize that it is really their accomplishments that are honored here today, and I am so excited to accept this tremendous honor on their behalf. Thank you to the jury and the selection committee for honoring our work. It's a true privilege. I couldn't have done this alone. There were many, many people along the way who helped, some of whom are here. Ruth Lehman, why don't you stand up, please? I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. My postdoctoral mentor, my role model. Thank you, Ruth, for everything. Thank you to my friends and colleagues who have helped me along with difficult scientific questions and supporting our work on trying to seek the truth. I also want to take this opportunity to thank my family, who is also here, my children, who understood that mom was constantly gone and really, really had to write this really, really important paper and this really, really important grant that she never got anyway. So thank you, Teresa and Clara. Can you guys stand up, please? They're here. Stand up. Stand up. Thank you. And I really want to thank my husband. I couldn't have done it without him. Being an immigrant is not easy. Just sort of leaving your homeland behind and starting new somewhere is very challenging. The bread is really not that good in the United States, and there is many other things you have to get used to. And so I wouldn't be here without him. He supported me in my career unconditionally all the time.
And in the 1980s and in the 1990s, especially in Middle Europe, that was not a given. And for that, I will always be extremely grateful. And you should applaud him now. He put up with me for 35 years, so thank you. And then last but certainly not least, Marica and Jeanne, thank you so much for creating this prize and for your continued generosity. The Vilcek Prizes are especially meaningful today when immigrants are stereotyped, when they are made scapegoats for people's ill fortunes. And let us really not forget that people who leave their homeland in search for a safer, better environment for raising their children, or for better opportunities for themselves, or in my case, to sort of learn science the American way, really. That was my goal. That's why I came here. It's really immigrants who've made this country what it is today, and I'm extremely grateful to both of you for recognizing the contribution of immigrants today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Angelika. Now, for the culinary arts. We have an unusual circumstance this year. One of the prize winners who will take the stage shortly is Tejal Rao. Tejal is a restaurant critic, and her anonymity is essential. So out of respect for this, our event photographers will not be photographing her, and we would ask the same of you. Now, to introduce the winners in the culinary arts, we have Padma Lakshmi. Padma will likely be a familiar name to many of you. She's had a multifaceted career that spans several fields. Originally from India, she began her career as an international fashion model, but she is equally well known in the culinary world. She has published award-winning cookbooks such as Easy Exotics and a powerful food-based memoir called Love, Loss, and What We Ate. Padma also serves as a judge, host, and executive producer of the Emmy Award-winning show, Top Chef. The show is a launching pad for careers in the culinary arts. 15 of this year's James Beard Awards semifinalists have been involved with the show. Now, Padma uses her platform to speak out on behalf of others. She is an ambassador for the American Civil Liberties Union and the co-founder of the Endometriosis Foundation of America. For her advocacy efforts, Padma received the Ellis Island Medal of Honor and was named a visiting scholar at MIT. A true Renaissance woman, please welcome Padma.
Good evening. I want to thank first and foremost the Vilceks for having me here tonight with all of you. What you have done in the last 20 years is not only extraordinary and prescient, but in this moment, so direly necessary, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am an immigrant, and I came here when I was 4 to join my mother, a nurse who had emigrated from India 2 years earlier. She'd had exactly $100 in her pocket when she left a turbulent marriage with my father for the United States. She willed a new life for us. She willed it into existence by sculpting the mist. I love this country for allowing that to be possible for her and for me, along with so many others. America has shaped my family's dreams and values. I grew up here in New York, a city of immigrants. For many, it's a microcosm of the most idealized version of this country. My neighbors were Peruvian and Filipino, doctors, nurses, line cooks, and cab drivers. These people were and are the heartbeat of this, my beloved city. As a kid, I used to roller skate all over the streets of New York. And seeing all these faces from around the world showed me that I belonged here too. My mother and I would travel uptown to Spanish Harlem for things like tamarind and sugarcane, and all the way downtown to Chinatown for vegetables like bitter gourd and lotus stem, for spices like star anise and black cardamom. In our quest for our own ingredients, we would bump up against other immigrant communities. These folks had much to tell us, not only about how they eat, but also about how they live and what they value. The city became my first culinary playground. It set the stage for a lifelong passion to discover what is best about a people by sharing their foods with them. The city lit my young palate on fire, and I have been tasting the world ever since through my fork. Through my work on Top Chef, I've had the chance to meet people all over America. I've lived on both coasts, and I've also spent a lot of time in cities like Charleston, Louisville, Chicago, New Orleans, and Miami. What makes all of these places great is the diversity of people who call them home. This diversity makes our history richer, our art more vibrant, and it makes our food more interesting and delicious. These things are all possible because this is who we are as Americans. It also happens to be the result of what is actually the best of America itself: immigrants. Immigrants have not only built a national culinary palate, we've built this very nation. Every one of us, all of us, over many, many generations, since the first wave came to Plymouth Rock. At its best, our country has long been admired as a beacon of hope because of our tradition of welcoming people from all around the world and from all walks of life. Whether they're white or brown, gay or straight, male or female, they can come here and create a new life and new art forms. That's the American dream. The 4 outstanding food professionals we honor tonight are great examples of what happens when an immigrant is allowed to follow that dream through exercising their passion. I'm honored to stand here before you tonight and present the Vilcek Awards to 4 people that I admire greatly, not only for their achievements, but for their sheer gumption and force of will. They are living proof of everything I believe in around this issue, which is so close to my heart. Nite is known for bringing Cambodian food so authentic to the Bay Area. She has brought back the flavors of childhood long left behind for many Cambodian expats living there. What's extraordinary is that she wasn't even born in Cambodia, but in a refugee camp. She shows us that no refugee should ever be turned away. No one, regardless of their origins, should be discounted. Nite has contributed to the San Francisco food scene by making Cambodian food accessible, and within just months of opening, received a 3-star review by Eater, been named a semi-finalist for the James Beard Foundation's Best New Restaurant, as well as making Bon Appetit's 10 Best Restaurants in 2008. You can clap for that. Absolutely. Fabián von Hauske Valtierra grew up in Mexico City, but dreamed of cooking in New York. He's not only spent time at Jean-Georges and Noma, he's opened not 1, but 3 restaurants here in New York City, all within a decade of first coming here. Lucky for him and us, his merit-based green card came through just under the wire on the same day that Mr. Trump was elected. Fabián's food is the epitome of what makes eating in New York City so great. It's a melange of immigrant influences, from Japanese to Jewish, from French to, yes, his native Mexico. He is a Best New Chef of 2016, according to Food and Wine magazine, and the proud earner, along with Jeremiah Stone, of consecutive Michelin stars 2 years in a row. I am so happy also to be presenting this award to Tejal. I see her byline and I know the writing is going to be not only outstanding and immensely enjoyable, but unbiased, informative, and balanced. Her nomadic upbringing in Kuwait, Sudan, France, and the US have given her prose a unique perspective that is singular. Her writing is one I personally aspire to myself. As a fellow Indian woman, my heart swells with pride to inform you that she is the recipient of not one, but 2 James Beard Awards for her writing. Her stories of lesser-known immigrants like the Bangladeshi food cart vendor and women of color, as well as Native American foods, are as valiant as they are excellent reads. This honor is really well-deserved, Tejal. Congratulations. And finally, I have the privilege and honor of calling Marcus Samuelsson my longtime friend and colleague. Marcus first shined at Aquavit as the youngest chef to ever receive a 3-star rating at the age of 23. His difficult stints apprenticing in Japan, Switzerland, and France, being the only black man often in those kitchens, taught him how to connect with people through the language of food. He has been speaking that language eloquently for decades now. He is a recipient of 5, count them 5, James Beard Awards, authored several cookbooks, a beautiful memoir, and appeared in countless TV shows, including mine, espousing the very tenets of what this award is all about. Founder of the Eat Up Festival in Harlem, host of PBS's No Passport Required, and head of over a dozen restaurants worldwide, and father to Zion and husband to Maya. This award is a long time coming and so well deserved, my friend. I believe what truly makes America great is our culture of inclusion. We are a superpower because we've managed to take the best of each immigrant culture over time and create our own uniquely American culture. We've distilled the ethos of a meritocracy based on the value of what each of us brings to the table. And there should be a place at this table for all of us. That's what makes us a vibrant society. I am a mother now. I want my daughter to live in a country whose foods are as delicious and diverse, even more so than when I grew up, and whose policies aren't governed by fear, but by compassion and hope. A country that teaches all our children the very American principles of empathy, inclusion, and opportunity for all. We're the United States of America. Let's remember who we really are, which is spelled out in the first word of our country's name, united. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you.
Food writing isn't just about the way things taste. You're telling the stories that are inseparable from the food. Stories about labor, politics, power, history. Food has bridged all kinds of gaps in my work and in my life because food is a universal way to connect. It's also the best way I know into a story.
Yes? Okay, there's something.
Thank you so much to Padma for that very generous and inspiring introduction. And thank you to Jeanne and Marica Vilcek and to Rick Kinsel and to the whole team at the Vilcek Foundation. You've made me feel like I'm part of this big, brilliant, extended family of neuroscientists and geneticists and art historians and chefs, and I'm so honored and so proud to be a part of it. I'm also very emotional. So when very brutal commenters or trolls on Twitter or the voices in my own head really get to me and question my work or its relevance or my point of view or my authority, I have this thing that I do in my head because I'm a big nerd and I'm gonna share it with you. What I do is I kind of declare my matriarchal lineage and I draw power from it, like the protagonist of a sci-fi movie. So it goes like this. I am Tejal, daughter of Naina, maker of goat biryanis. Stay with me. Tailor of secondhand school uniforms. Granddaughter of Pushpa, shoe store owner, and sari pinner. Great-granddaughter of Gala, crusher of cardamom pods, and so on. And it's a little bit silly, but it's this exercise that really helps me draw strength. Because I was raised by these very tough, determined, and frankly, sometimes frightening women. And all of them were immigrants, and some of them were asylum seekers and refugees. And tonight I'm thinking so much about how they worked harder than me. They boarded ships and planes, they didn't know where they'd land. They built businesses from scratch, they raised families, they put dinner on the table. And they were never honored on a stage like this one because their day-to-day work was invisible, sometimes even to me. And I recognize how lucky I am to be here, to be honored for my own work as a reporter. And I wanted to share what I hope my work emphasizes and illuminates, which is that as immigrants, we don't need to prove our humanity to anyone. We don't need to be superhuman to be human. We don't need to be high achievers to deserve the space that we take up and to deserve respect. And we don't need to fit neatly into a single narrative because we contain so many narratives, so many tangled, complicated stories. And there's space for those stories on the page, and there's space for those stories in this country. So thank you so much to the Vilcek Foundation for affirming that. And I want to thank some of my mentors, Jessica Lustig and Stephen Thrasher, who made space for me and time for me very early on in my career. And I want to thank Sam Sifton and Jake Silverstein for bringing me to the New York Times and giving me a platform. And I want to thank Hugh, my partner, who's here with me tonight, and my friends Kushbu, Priya, Sonia, who are superstars and are here supporting me. I really appreciate it. I accept the prize with so much gratitude and so much joy on behalf of all the people who make my path possible, particularly my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmothers, whose journeys were much, much harder than mine. Thank you so much.
A lot of my inspiration for Contra comes from my childhood memories in Mexico City. I am proud to be a Mexican chef living and working in the United States. despite being worried about being an immigrant in this political environment. This worry fuels my drive to create opportunities for my foreign employees, for my family, and for myself.
Thank you so much for having me. I think my dad never thought he would see me wearing a suit again 15 years ago when I got my first tattoo and I told him I wanted to be a chef. I would like to thank the Vilceks, everyone involved, Rick, Gabriel, Peter, everyone who I've met through the entire process for acknowledging and recognizing the work that we immigrants do. I would also like to thank every single recipient and all the applicants that have applied through the years for showing America that immigrants are important for this country and for every country. I would like to thank my girlfriend Annalise for showing me beauty in this life and for making me acknowledge that I have a life outside of the restaurant. I would like to thank my partner Jeremiah, who's not here, my amazing staff, and the city of New York for opening its doors and for giving me everything that I have. Without you, I wouldn't have a career. Last but not least, I would like to thank my mom and dad who are here. I would like to thank my mom for teaching me to appreciate the small details in life, to be hospitable, and to acknowledge the fact that if you have your guests' favorite diet soda in your fridge when they visit you, they'll be very thankful. I would like to thank my father for teaching me from an early age that there's no room for creativity if it doesn't involve hard work and devoting your life to others. Thank you so much to everyone.
Cooking is a way of uncovering my history. My parents escaped Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge genocide. I was born in a refugee camp. I've decided to tell this story through a restaurant. I want my restaurant, my food, my career to show you that you can find your own way, cook your own food, and write your own history.
Okay, this is wild, but good evening. I'm just so deeply honored to be here tonight. Looking back on my journey, it's hard to imagine that I would be on this stage, sharing the space with scholars, creatives, and thinkers. My family fled war-torn Cambodia and overcame tremendous feats to get me to where I am today. Despite our many obstacles, I still learned to dream big. At a young age, I felt that America is where you can make dreams happen. Ironically, living in the US is where I began my quest to know my roots. I feel extremely fortunate to have been able to actualize my dreams here. I only want the same opportunity to be given to other immigrants because when given an honest chance, we can do extraordinary things. Thank you to my dearest friends and mentors at La Cocina for helping me reach my potential. A big thanks to my staff back home who are the backbone of Myanmar. A special shout out to Anthony Tive, whose unconditional love and support carried me through difficult times. An honorable mention to my mother, who taught me my way around a kitchen, and my father, who kept our home alive with Khmer classic rock. Finally and foremost, thank you to the Vilcek Foundation. Highlighting immigrants in this way proves we're what makes this country truly great. Thank you.
Food is one of those rare things that creates this multi-sensory experience. Touch, smell, sight, sound, taste. To me, being an immigrant in America is about as American as you can get. It is exactly what makes America so beautiful, diverse, strong, and constantly evolving.
Wow. Well, I got to start with saying that the education level is going to go way down. I am not. I finished high school and then I traveled and got to cook. But it's just amazing that a room like this with these amazing experiences
that everyone's had here. We share something as love as humans, and we shared experiences of challenges, but it also inspires us. And I want to start with saying thank you to Jeanne and Marica, Vilcek, and everybody that works on behalf of the Vilcek Foundation to create this. This is really humbling for Maya and myself and our son and family to be here because there's so many different things that, I got robbed down the street from here. It's the only time I got robbed. I used to live down the street here in Hell's Kitchen. And I want to thank that guy, actually, because as he robbed me, the only thing I was thinking about was, I have my immigrant papers in that wallet. Can I just get those back? I didn't even care about the money. So after he took my money, I ran after him and I got my papers back. And without that, I didn't care about the money. I just wanted and I also thank the 4 people, or take the tribe that raised me, but I was born in Ethiopia, and a place like basically is the half of this stage in a hut, and my 2 parents in Ethiopia, Anu and Sigai, my mother and I and my sister, we had tuberculosis, but my mother took us to a Swedish hospital. She passed, but we survived. And then to my 2 other parents that raised me, Anne-Marie and Leonard, and also my grandmother, Helga. And my grandmother, Helga, was a domestic. And talk about anonymous labor. But without her foresight and her constant love in the kitchen, I would never become a cook, and I would never have the chance to be here in front of you guys. And the idea of being an immigrant, I've been an immigrant 6 times. And it's such a blessing because it really forces you to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's such a great exercise because you got to achieve something. You might not speak the language, or you speak the language a little bit, but you still got to achieve, hopefully, really good food and work together. So it's been a great progress in belief in humanity, but also mentorship. And I've got a lot of mentors. And I want to say thank you to 2 people that has helped me, or 4 people that really helped me a lot. And it's Miss Leah Chase in New Orleans, Chef Charlie Trotter in Chicago that believed in me when no one else believed in me, Danielle Boulou, and also late Anthony Bourdain that was, all of these people are really inspired and helped me in so many different ways. Want to also say thank you to James Beard Foundation that has aspired and helped me in so many different ways, and hopefully I can contribute back. And Richard Grousman and CCAP that have we work together on sending young students to cooking schools and college, and it's also been inspirational work, and I've been able to learn about other people's background that are different than mine, but also inspired me to do the work that we do. And through everyone from the Aquavit staff to everyone at the Red Rooster, and also my current team that allows me to do all these things, that it really goes back to showing that, yes, as immigrants, we can contribute value, and we can do it too. And to be able to have a team like we have with No Passport and PBS, and to be able to have those people in the room here, it really is a humbling moment for me. And I want to thank again everyone that, I'm going to say something weird here, but as we doing the work, right? I always say that the current moment, nothing has been more inspirational to get up every day to prove that all the garbage that has been, the false narrative that has been pushed around about immigrants. I've never been as more focused. I've never been as more enjoying this challenge. And when you create food, you have to be happy. But this balance between the false narrative that is being pushed out about immigrants and us as people, as tribe, as Americans, has also helped us to focus. And I see this work all over the country. You can go to smaller cities, big cities, immigrants are gathering and creating incredible food. And breaking bread has been this inspirational, and cooking has been this inspirational platform and breaking barriers that obviously happened way before, but I've never seen it as organized and as important, as purposeful filled as now. And that is what I think is very encouraging. And I thank the Vilcek Foundation for keep pushing and inspiring us, but also giving us a platform that we can connect and meet other people and create and continue to create great work. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Now, I'd like to call our co-founder, Marica Vilcek, to introduce our final honoree. We have many guests tonight from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and to them, Marica is a well-known figure. She spent many years there as a curator, where she was invaluable for her encyclopedic knowledge of the arts. Today, she remains a vital force in New York City's cultural life. She's a board member of the New York Youth Symphony and the chair of the board for the New York University Institute of Fine Arts, where she and Jeanne recently established the Marica and Jeanne Vilcek curatorial program. At the Vilcek Foundation, Marica is a champion for immigrant artists, and she ensures that our prizes recognize as many disciplines of the arts as possible. And the Vilcek Prize for Excellence, awarded here tonight for the first time in the field of art history and museum work, was entirely her initiative. Here to announce the winner of the first Vilcek Prize in Excellence is Marica Vilcek. Is this okay? It's not very bright.
It is my enormous pleasure to introduce the inaugural Vilcek Prize for Excellence, an award honoring an immigrant who has made a significant impact on American society and world culture. This is a different sort of prize for us. Unlike the others, which are chosen by jury, the winner of this award is chosen by me and Jeanne personally, and then approved by the president of the foundation and the board. So, we are particularly thrilled to introduce you to the first recipient, Carmen Bambach. Carmen came to this country with her parents and siblings in 1974, when military dictatorship reigned in Chile. Though she spoke no English when she arrived, she thrived because of her thirst for learning. While still an undergraduate at Yale, she literally saw what no one else has seen before. Looking at an inscrutable drawing by Michelangelo, which has been labeled an armpit, she turned the image upside down and identified the drawing for the first time as a sketch for Haman's head in the Sistine Chapel. This is only the first example of the visually acute scholarship she is known for. A few years later, her dissertation offered an important insight into the use of Pound's drawings in Renaissance art. Pouncing is a method of transferring a drawing or design to a new surface, such as canvas, panel, or fresco. Carmen's work, especially on Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, has illuminated our understanding of how Renaissance drawings enabled artists to create such a complex, large-scale works of unsurpassed beauty. She is now the curator of Italian and Spanish drawings at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I was fortunate to spend 32 years working in curatorial positions at the Metropolitan Museum. As an immigrant with almost no community, the museum was a refuge and helped tremendously in my adjustment to this country. I discovered what so many have found, that museums not only serve tourists, art and culture enthusiasts, and school groups, they are wonderful sanctuaries for people who are lonely, unhappy, or in distress. No wonder the museum welcomes the displaced. It is home to thousands of immigrant objects from all over the world. The award to Carmen is a recognition of tremendous amount of unheralded work done by curators. An important exhibition can take many years to prepare and not only demands deep knowledge of the artists and cultures, but also requires planning, securing loans, writing a catalog, and installing the work. The job of a curator is akin to that of a conductor of an orchestra, though unlike conductors, curators are rarely given full credit for their creations. In addition to all her contribution to the body of art history knowledge, Carmen's work exemplifies the highest values of curatorial work. Not only is Carmen painstaking, she is also tireless in her efforts to open the riches of her knowledge to others. In addition to curating major exhibitions, Carmen lectures extensively and has published numerous articles, exhibition catalogs, as well as several books. Her 4-volume, 2,200-page treatise on Leonardo da Vinci is scheduled to be published this spring. Carmen enlivens the history of art on these shorts with her erudition, her intellect, and her personal distinction. She enriches this country with her generosity, kindness, and wisdom.
The greatest of the artists of the Italian Renaissance are all about technical accomplishment, the mastery of the medium. You are just awed by the scale, the monumentality of the work. I'm interested in these great figures of the past and this kind of mission of bringing the past to the present.
And thank you, Stefan, for the beautiful award diploma. Many heartfelt thanks, Marica. I very moved. There are no sufficiently profound words, Marica and Jeanne, to thank you for the enormity of your spirit and generosity. You present an impressive personal and professional role model, certainly to me and to anyone who has learned about your mission with the Vilcek Foundation. It is immensely moving for anyone to hear your stories of emigrating from Czechoslovakia in the 1960s via Vienna and then to the States in very difficult circumstances. Dear friends in the audience, I urge you to read the memoir by Jeanne Vilcek, Love and Science, published in 2016. As one of the reviewers of Jeanne's memoirs put it, and I quote, his and Marica's story is one of courage and freedom, of discovery and philanthropy, told with elegant modesty, end of quote. Less strong and less profound human beings than you, Marica and Jeanne, might have become hardened by the hardships you experienced. Instead, you remain so very graceful, so very elegantly understated, and so very deeply generous. You have become inspiring guardian angels to so many of us with your extraordinary ability to do good, with your support of education, the arts and the sciences. One of the reasons, among many others, that I am totally thrilled to receive the Vilcek Prize is your deep dedication to and extraordinary success in bringing together the arts and sciences. I feel that it has been fate and my great fortune that you so generously funded the publication of my book on Leonardo da Vinci, the universal Renaissance genius who was artist and scientist. There is something so poignant and so profound, in fact, hard to describe with words, when we are reminded of the crucial qualities of the greatest artists and scientists. Creativity, imagination, and dedication guide the best endeavors of artists and scientists. For me, Marica and Jeanne, your support has meant everything in my life as a scholar and curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. We're celebrating the 500th anniversary of Leonardo da Vinci's death in 2019, and my book entitled Leonardo da Vinci Rediscovered, which you supported with the Vilcek Foundation publication grant in 2013, will be published by Yale University Press later this summer, in June 25th. 24 years in the writing, this book on Leonardo is in 4 volumes and has 1,500 illustrations in color, thanks in the greatest part to the Vilcek Foundation grant. The Met will be honoring the 500th anniversary of Leonardo's death with a display of Leonardo's unfinished painting of Saint Jerome praying the wilderness, a very special loan from the Vatican museums. And Leonardo's painting will arrive in New York July 8th and will be in view for 3 months until October 6th. As scholars, we often spend years researching and writing in complete solitude, looking at works of art, going to archives, and not infrequently wondering, am I on the road leading to nowhere with this book? Your generous prize and publication grant have validated my crazy idea to think and write more creatively and to take intellectual risks. In my journey from my birthplace in Santiago de Chile to the United States, I have been blessed with the unwavering support and deep affection of my family and many mentors. My parents' choice of immigrating to the United States with my brothers and sister in March 1974 has been the single greatest gift from them to me. My parents' decision to immigrate to the States meant that I could have the intellectual life and professional development that I have now. I'm here with my dear sister Marie and dear brother Alberto, applause, who are representing my parents, my brother Guillermo, and the rest of our family who could not be here. Here also, I would like to recall especially my late husband, Ron Street, who was my ardent champion in my work as an art historian. I owe tremendous debts of gratitude to my professors at Yale, where I did my undergraduate and graduate studies. They taught me intellectual courage. I owe an equally great debt of gratitude to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, my beloved institution where I've worked since 1995. At the Met, it has been possible for me to flourish intellectually. The Met has given me opportunities to apply that learned ability and creative thinking. It also has given me an extended family. I thank most profoundly my many colleagues from the Met who are here tonight. Your presence at this gala means so very much to me personally. The mission of the Vilcek Foundation of honoring immigrant contributions to American society, culture, and science gives us hope now and into the future. Despite the present anti-immigrant political climate in our adoptive country of citizenship, with your philanthropy, Marica and Jeanne, you remind us that immigrants built this country. What's more, with your philanthropy, you give us wings. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen, and congratulations again to all of the prize winners tonight. Looking forward to 2020, the next round of Creative Promise Prizes will recognize biomedical science and literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. And later this fall, be on the lookout for the Vilcek Foundation's first cookbook entitled A Place at the Table. You all have these. I want to thank everyone in this room who helped us with the cookbook. Padma has provided the foreword for the book. Gabrielle at table 6 did all the heavy lifting on the project. Peter Hurley took all the photos, and our publisher, Holly, is in the room somewhere. The book you can pre-order now, and it would actually help the foundation if you did so. For now, though, we have one last special treat. Marcus, Fabián, Tejal, and Nite have created special cocktails to celebrate the evening, and I want to thank the Mandarin for doing all the juicing of the blood oranges and steeping the cardamom. So take this opportunity to have a cocktail and get to know our prize winners. Thank you all so much.